Ron, do you want to give the introduction?
Sure, I can do that. Welcome on behalf of Hewie and I, welcome to the second session we have on Chromebooks. Let me just get this out of the way. We sort of a week before decide what we're going to talk about. Oh, did you mute everybody, Hewie? Can you
No,
mute?
that I better do that.
Better just mute everybody so I don't get any
And don't
feedback.
forget to unmute yourself.
There we go. This is our second one that we've done, and it's sometimes hard to choose what we're going to do because there are some new people here that have just got Chromebooks. Some people are thinking about Chromebooks. Some people are experienced Chromebook users. So what do we want to talk about is always difficult, but we chose some topics today that we thought you might be interested in. Some of them are very general, and I'm going to start today talking about what your Google account is and why that's important. And then Huey's going to come on and he's going to talk about a couple of issues surrounding the operating system and what the new operating system, Chrome 86, will.
Ron, before we start, yesterday I was working on my Chromebook trying to put some things together, and I had some help, and I wanted to share this with you. There's my helper. And this is taken from the camera on the front of my Chromebook. I just turned the Chromebook around a little bit and said, come on, because she usually won't watch what's on the screen, and I usually can't get her on camera.
Who's that? Here.
But she was helping me do my Chromebook recordings yesterday for this show.
So
and then she wanted to remind me of something here that I forgot. Look at the camera. There we go. And that's it.
Now, isn't that interesting? That's how easy Chromebooks are, right?
Absolutely. Even the dog can tell me what I should be doing.
There you go. All right. Okay, listen, be sure as well, Huey sent out a reminder, if you have people who are interested in our Chromebook SIG, anyone can come and make sure they just sign up and register. You don't have to re-register for next month. It'll be the third Thursday of the month, and we'll be here and we'll send out reminders, but you don't have to re-register. But if you're a new person coming online, then you can re-register. All right, so today I wanted to talk, my topic today I wanted to discuss was your Google account. And this is important. We had a little bit of a discussion about this before the meeting started in what is your Google account. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but it is important because a Chromebook is very account driven. In other words, when you sign in to your Google account, you'll be signing into your Chromebook with your Google account. Now, and a lot of people don't know what a Google account is. Like, what is my Google account, right? Now, if you have a Gmail account, if you signed up and you use Gmail, you'll have a username and a password in your Gmail, and that actually is your Google account. So if you don't think you have a Google account and you are using Gmail, then you do, because it's your login and password. If you have an Android phone, and you are, then you have a Google account, because when your Android phone was set up and you put your username and password in there, then that's your Google account. Now, it is important that you may have multiple Google accounts, right? You may have a Google account on your phone. I hope it's the same. If you have a Gmail account, I hope when you set your phone up that you used your login and password for your Gmail as your Google account. We want to make sure that you don't have multiple accounts, because then this gets confusing. Because when you sign in to your Chromebook, it's going to ask you what your Google or Gmail account is, and you just simply put your username and password in, and then it will populate the your computer. So it's important. Now, Steve Dotto has an excellent video I'm going to play now, but I'm going to overlay it with my voice as well. I'm going to stop as we go through and interject specifics related to a Chromebook, but I wanted just to play this for you. Let me just share my screen, and we'll do the computer sound. And we'll see.
This is the first of a 5-part series on the Google ecosystem. Oh, what a big word, ecosystem. What does it mean? It's just talking about your Google account and the benefits you get from working with Google and how all of their different products work together. That's the ecosystem. Their products being Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, those sorts of things. But there's a few different types of accounts that you can get, which causes massive confusion, even to me. So I thought we would start this 5-part series out by talking about your Google account, how to set it up, what to expect from it, and what benefits you get from joining the ecosystem. That's today on Dottotech. Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? At Dottotech, we make technology easy so you can do more. Now today I am biting off something which I consider to be a little bit big to chew. It's the whole idea of Google accounts. And the reason it's big to chew is Google has, for some unknown reason, they've given us basically 4 tiers of accounts that we can have. 2 of them are free, 2 of them we pay for. They're all slightly different, but they're all incredibly similar, and it just gets a little bit confusing. So my goal today is for you to understand the basic of how the different 4 type of accounts work, and also how to set up your free basic account and understand what the benefits are of that, to set the stage for the rest of this series when we're going to look at using Gmail and using Google Calendar, the basics, using Google Photos, how all of the different tools integrate with each other and fit together. Thereby, we will all have a wonderful image and a wonderful picture of how the Google ecosystem works. Sound like a deal? All right. Let's begin with the 4 types of accounts. And I'm going to stick them up here. Or here. I'm not too sure. I'll have to edit it later to know which side I'm putting it on. But the 4 types of accounts are a Gmail account. That's an account that has at gmail.com at the end that most of us have and is for free. We'll be talking a lot about that in this series. There's also a Google account, which is the same thing except you don't have a Gmail address attached to it and you can't use Gmail, but you can access the rest of the Google ecosystem from it. Then there's the G Suite accounts, the G Suite Basic and the G Suite Business account, which gives you access to the G Suite or the Google Suite. And it gives you access to the exact same things, to the word processor and the spreadsheet and Gmail and Google Contacts and Google Calendar, but you pay $5 a month for the basic version or $10 a month for the more expensive version. And there's just a few subtle differences. The main difference being with a G Suite account, you can have your own email address that runs through Gmail. So basically you can use all of Gmail's search and archiving and sending and filtering tools, but you can use it with your own domain name at the end, and you have a few other features as well as some additional storage. Now we'll put a link in the description below to the to a page that will give you an outline to this page here, which gives you an outline of all of the different services available through the business and the basic account. But for our purposes today, we're going to concentrate on the basic account, not the G Suite Basic, but the basic Gmail account, the one that we get for free, the one that so many people have, the kind of the key to all of the Google ecosystem. Because with this account, you can gain access to the entire world that Google has to offer, and it's free. But you want to set it up properly, you want to make sure that your security is in place, and most importantly, I think you want to understand what the benefits are, exactly what you can get from this account, which is our goal in this episode today. So let's now take a look at setting up a Gmail account and what the benefits are and how that fits in the entire Google ecosystem. Now, it has been a while since I've signed up for a fresh and brand new Gmail account, so there might be a few things that I have to puzzle out as we set this up, but we'll go on this journey together, shall we? So you go to any Google page, to your Google country page or Google search page, and you go to sign in. And in the sign in area, when you go to sign into your account, if you already have an existing account, of course, you can sign in. But if you don't, you can click on create account. And you create an account by entering your name and a username. Now that's going to be a bit of a challenge always because so many millions of people already have Gmail accounts that you're probably going to end up with some sort of numerical appendage to your name or something that makes it unique. But I'm going to set us up. I'm going to set me up here. I'm going to set up a brand new one with my name and username. Thinking of a good username. This is always one of the hardest parts. What do I want? I know what I'm going to do. There it is, because I know I've got a Dottotech Demo Gmail account that I've set up, so I'm going to make it Dottotech Demo 3. I'm pretty sure I can get that. Then you want to set up a password. Now you can set up a temporary password if you want, or you can set up a nice cryptic password right off the top. Right off the top.
Now I want to mention this as part of a Chromebook. One of the differences in a Chromebook is that when you go to turn your Chromebook on, your Chromebook is going to ask you for your username and password. You'll put your username and password in, and then it will log you into your Google account and Chrome will come up. If you're using LastPass or using a password manager, it's fine. It'll be there in the Chrome browser when you bring it up, and you can use LastPass. The problem is when you initially sign in to your Chromebook and you use your username and password, you won't have access to LastPass or a password manager. So you don't want to use a long cryptic password that has 25 different up characters. You want to use something that, because you're going to have to manually put it in. So that's one of the messages here that you need to be careful with. All right, let's continue on.
Now I have a tool installed called LastPass, which will generate a nice cryptic password for me. So I'm going to get it to do that. I'm going to get it to generate a new password for me. Now, the cool thing about LastPass is when you create a new password, it will automatically save it into the vault. So now I don't have to remember that super cryptic password that it created. Now, this is the start. We've got the beginning of the process. So they've approved this name. If the name was taken, they would have stopped us at that point there and told us we have to have a different Gmail name or a different name to our Gmail account, but it worked. So the next thing we have to do is we're going to start entering our security information because we want our account to be secure. We want to be able to be the authorized person to get into it. And also, if we have an issue with it, we want to be able to recover information about the account. And typically speaking, we do that through the use of this, through our smartphone, by adding our phone number to our account. This will allow Google to communicate with us to our phone, which only we should have theoretically, and it allows an additional level of security. So I'm going to enter my phone number in. And you can also at this point enter a recovery email address. This is an existing email address that you already have. If you don't have an email address, I think you can still sign up. Oh yeah, it says it's optional, but it's always a good idea to have a backup email address that it sends things to if you have any security issues. Now we're going to put in our birthday, and they never say happy birthday to me. They forget my birthday every year. Dust, not my best friend. And my gender. Rather not say your custom. Oh, they've added custom. That's nice. I don't mind being identified as male. And then why we ask for this information? Oh, they give us Google, very sensitive, of course, to privacy and security. They try and give us full disclosure every step of the way. So you can read all of the different disclaimers as you go along. Now, next thing in the process is they want to make sure the phone number is mine, that I indeed am the person with this phone. So they are going to send a text to my phone here, which we will see buzz in just a moment. But there it is, right there. It's already there. And my Google verification code, see, is right there, and it is 605602. And don't worry about saying this because it's only a one-time code. There we go. Get more from our number. Now it's going to start to talk to us a little bit how it manages our security. If you like, you can add your phone number to your account and to use across Google services. So it's only used this now for this verification. It hasn't actually saved our phone number. If I want to use the phone to receive video calls and messages or to make Google services, including ads, more relevant to me, I can choose to use our phone. And here's more options. Don't add my number, add my account for account security only. Add my number for account security and video calls, but don't use my number for any other Google services. So video calls are something new that they've added fairly recently to the Google services. So we can, if we want, we can use it that way. Or yes, I'll add my number right across. I'm going to go in full into the deep end of the pool. I want to take advantage of every service offered. And I can always go in and change them later if I want. See, it says you can always change your number, control how it's used, or remove it from your Google account. I'm going to say okay to everything. I'm in for penny, in for pound, as they say. Okay. Now we have to accept our terms of service. And here are all of the different terms which we can look our way through. I'm not going to spend all of the time on that today, but you should definitely read through your terms of service and make sure you're comfortable. And if you're not comfortable with it, Google it and see exactly and to understand the subtleties of what's happening. All right. Once we've done that.
So what he just showed you there was how to put your recovery email address, which would be an other email address that they, if you couldn't remember your password or you get locked out, they can you use your recovery email address to reset your account. The other way you can do that is with your phone, and that's why he linked the phone to your account. So those are two ways that you can recover your Google account. One of the big problems, it is if you forget your password. And there have been times when people forget their passwords, they haven't set up a recovery email, they haven't set up a recovery phone number, and they can't get back into their account. And this is a really big tragedy, particularly if you've got your Google Photos and all your life's work in your Google account and you can't get it back. So setting a recovery password or a recovery email and a recovery phone number is extremely important.
We've set up the basic service. It looks like we're actually in. And it's brought me now back to the home page, to the main Google search page. So if I click here on Gmail right now, it should, if I'm not mistaken, take me in to my main Google interface. My Gmail interface, it's loading. This is the first time that this account has been opened as a Gmail account. And there it is. Welcome, Steve, to Gmail. And this is the startup screen for a virgin account. Never been used. Email. So this is where it all starts. Now, so I am actually going to be going through Gmail in the next video in this series. So there'll be a playlist linked to the next video at the end of this video, unless you're watching this video when it's just being released, in which case it'll be released within the next few days. So make sure that you've subscribed to the channel so you get access to the next video. But they're telling us right here that we're 10% set up, that we want to go through these different things in order to set up our Gmail account. So I will talk about these items in the next video, setting up your Gmail account and making sure that you're well set to use Gmail. But as I promised, I said I want to show you the basic setup today, talk to you a little bit about security, and also about how the different Google system, all the different pieces of the puzzle fit together. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So we'll get to the rest of the email in the next video. But for now, I'm going to show you the rest of the Google ecosystem that I've been talking about. And we can find most of it by clicking here under Google Apps. So even before we've completely configured our Gmail account, we have access already to all of these different services. Look at them here that are available to us. Our account, which I'll take you in a moment, and that's where we set up additional security and we manage our privacy. Search, Maps, Google Maps, which you can use either as an account or you can use it anonymously as well. YouTube, if you want to set up a YouTube channel, you can use your Gmail account, your Google account, to set up your YouTube channel. Google Play is the store where we download free apps or paid apps for our smartphone or for our computer. Google News, which is an online news service. We actually did a video on using Google News, which filters news for you, and it uses your account to identify what news is most relevant to you and then serve you that news. So we will do a link to that video here as well. Gmail here, as we're talking about. Google Contacts, which keeps all of our different phone numbers and email addresses all in one place, which we can use on our phone as well as in Gmail. And I'll be showing you more on that when we talk about the Gmail side. Now we're getting into the exciting stuff. Google Drive. I'm going to click on that right now because Google Drive is all of the different extra Office tools that are built into Google. Now, along with our Gmail account, we get 15 gigabytes of storage available to us, which can be used for Gmail. It can be used for, we can save files. We can use it for just storing files, but we can also use it for managing all of our different documents that we have, and we can create those documents in Google Drive. So you see here, as I'm setting it up, it tells me right away, you get 15 gigabytes free for photos, documents, and more. So this Google Drive, we will be doing, that'll be, I guess the third video in this series will be on Google Drive on how we use it. But it does two things for us. Google Drive allows us to store files, but it also allows us to compose different pieces of content. It allows us to, let me just finish off this thing here, and let's get started. Here we go. It also allows us to do things like creating, under Google Docs, creating word processing documents, spreadsheets, presentations and slideshows. Now we have videos on all of these topics, but we'll be talking about basically how we use these services in the rest of this series. This is a huge benefit that's attached to your Google account or to your Gmail account. I use Google Docs for all of my word processing. For years and years, I used Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. Now I use Google Docs and Google Sheets for the most part for all of my spreadsheets and all of my writing. It's that good a service, and it's all available to us for free. Plus, there are even more services. We also have forums and drawings and all sorts of additional apps that we can have access to. Plus, we can load more in. So that's a big part of that Google ecosystem that I was talking about, is access to storage and documents all through Google Drive. But there's more. Oh yes, there is so much more. There's also Google Calendar, which we can use for all of our organization. And the beauty of a cloud-based calendar means that the same Google Calendar lives on our phone as lives on our desktop. So as we're organizing and structuring our lives and all of our appointments, we have an online calendar which works in all aspects. Now, one of the challenges with online calendars is often we have access to a calendar through our phone. So if we're using, say, an iPhone, we have access to Apple's calendar on the phone. But then when we go onto our computer, if we're not using an Apple computer, if we haven't got it configured properly, the computer doesn't always jive with the phone. That's why I like to use Google Calendar across all of my platforms, because I know it's the one calendar that I can gain access to on every device that I have.
All right. So I'm going to stop that now. So that is your Google account. And all that is free of charge when you log on to your Chromebook. All those programs are there. Your Google Drive is there. Huey's going to talk a little bit about Google Drive later on, and all that is there. It's all free and included on your Chromebook when you log in. So I wanted to show you that, and so that everyone is not confused about your Google account, so you all understand what that is. Coming back to the password issue, two-factor authentication is important. We're not going to talk about that today. That's a topic that we might talk about in the future. But with your password, because your Google account is so important and so all-inclusive, right? You need to be protected completely. You don't want anyone ever to break into your Google account. And for that, I always recommend setting up two-factor authentication. That's another topic we'll talk about later. But that's an added security to your password. Okay. All right. Is there any questions on anything we just talked about? And then I'll turn it over to Hewie. Does anyone, if you just, I don't know, do you want to wave or just unmute yourself and say something? Does anyone have any questions?
It's George Bowden here.
Right. Got it, George. Yeah.
I have found over the years that the first password I need for Google has to be simple enough that I can type it without, like if I'm typing it on a phone, it's really hard if you've got a lot of punctuation characters in there. Um, and so I do find that I've made it long, but I've made it, standard characters that I can type on a keyboard easily, no matter how bad the lighting is, no matter what.
Right.
So that's a point that is a bit of a weakness, but I think it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make.
Right. And that's what I mentioned in there, is that in once you're into your Chromebook, and once it's up and running, you have your Chrome browser, and you've got LastPass there, or your password manager. It'll automatically fill in all your passwords. Not a problem. Okay. That's not a problem. The problem is initially when you go to sign into your Chromebook, and you're right, if you have to put all those, if you got 30 or 20 characters, and some are punctuation marks, question marks, and all that sort of stuff, it's really hard. And you'll have to put that in every time. Although there is a feature on a Chromebook in which you can link it to your phone, and your phone will unlock your Chromebook. We can talk about that in the future as well. And you can use your phone to unlock your Chromebook, which is, you can do that as well. But that's why I said initially is you want to just be careful with that, because it is a bit of a problem. Hewie, do you want to take it away?
I will. And
last month, Ron showed you how to manually update your Chrome OS. It's not needed. It will update itself. I'm in the habit of checking almost every day to see if there's an update to the OS, or the operating system. And when I do that, frequently it says it's up to date. Well, this morning when I did it, it said that I needed to do an update from version 85 to the version 86. There was a major update in the operating system. I want to show you a little bit on how I did that, and then let's go through some of the new things that are in OS 86, which was just released this past week, and you may have already received it, or you'll be getting it soon if you have a Chromebook. So to check, what we do is we go to our settings, and we come down to about Chrome OS, and you'll see right now it's saying that I could check for updates, but it's showing the new version. I just wanted to show you remind you how we get there. Now I have a couple of screenshots. I'm going to show you what it looked like before. Obviously, I didn't record it during the update. When it finished the update, this is what I saw. It was the version 86.
now here is where I checked for my updates, and it was 85. And I started the update, and it continued. And when it finished, it said I needed to restart. When I finished, I checked again, and it said it was up to date, and I was in versions 86.
So, what's new in version 86? Let's go back to that screen. And about OS. You'll see it says, see what's new. I've got some screenshots, but let's take a look at it live first. When you click on it, what's new with Chromebook? One of the things is you can turn your cursor to magenta or to other colors, red, so on. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Then there's select to speak is getting better. Easier Wi-Fi access with Wi-Fi sync. And then quickly control your mic volume. These are the big differences in version 86 over 85. If you have an older version, it's time to do your update manually. I'm going to show you how to make changes with your cursor in this new update. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Settings. You would think that when you come down that you would go to Device and it'll say Mouse and Touchpad. By the way, I have a mouse I'm using right now. If you don't have a mouse plugged in and operating, it's just going to say Touchpad. If you have both, like I have right now, you'll see that it says Mouse and Touchpad. Let me show you a screenshot of what it looks like without the mouse. Okay, so you would think this is where you go to make the changes that we're about to do with according to the instructions that we saw on what's new. But what you really need to do is keep scrolling and go down to the Advanced, click on Advanced, and come down to Accessibility. When you find Accessibility, you'll see that there is a little arrow, which means that there are more menu choices, and when we click that, it will then open the accessibility features for, as we scroll down, for the mouse and touchpad. Notice that everything is turned off by default and the cursor color is black by default. So you can automatically click when the cursor stops. So if you move your mouse around, and then that's a feature that you can turn on under accessibility. You can show a large mouse cursor. Notice the size of my cursor. Well, if I go to and say, okay, I want to turn it on, it now makes it as large, and you can adjust what size you want. You'll see that it's getting smaller and bigger as we scroll up. So we're going to make it large. And as we continue to look down here, notice it says the cursor color now. This was not available in version 85, but is in the operating system version 86. So now when we click this, we can make it red, we can make it yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta, or pink. I'm going to make it red. When I do, you'll see the hand is red. As I move up and move outside of the box, it's now showing me with a... And I can still adjust the color of that red cursor to be very small or very big. Sometimes when it's real big, it gets in the way of things, so sometimes you may not want it that large. Highlight the mouse cursor when it's moving. If I click that and turn it on, now you'll see there is a circle around the tip of the arrow or the cursor. I can turn that on, turn it off. You can open mouse touchpad device settings. That brings us to the top of the settings, where we'll go there in just a minute, and then show navigation buttons, and that's if you have if you're in tablet mode. So let's take a look at the other choices. For your mouse, you can change the buttons. So if you have a left button and a right button, you can swap them so that the left mouse button becomes the right mouse button, the right mouse button becomes the left mouse button. You can enable the mouse acceleration, and I have that on, which makes it fast. You can change the speed of your mouse, and you can reverse the scrolling. So if you, instead of scrolling up, it scrolls down. On your touchpad, there are some choices there. If you want to enable the tap to click, you turn it on. Sometimes I turn it off because I have a tendency to touch the pad too much. And when I do, it does things I don't want it to do. You can enable tap dragging, and I have that turned off. These are things you can experiment with. You can enable tap acceleration, and you can, the touchpad speed, you can adjust to be faster or slower when you move your finger around it. And again, you can do the reverse scrolling with your touchpad as well. I don't have that turned on. I want to scroll down. So that's how you change the color of your cursor. And now it's changed, so whatever I do on the screen, I now have a little circle showing me where I'm at, and it does fade away if I'm not moving my mouse or moving my finger on the trackpad. As soon as I start moving it, it shows up again.
Okay, that's that video. And one of the things I want to remind you of, number one, is if you haven't used your Chromebook yet, or if you haven't gotten a Chromebook, of course, this didn't make a lot of total sense, but you can see how easy it is to change things and how easy and quick it is to do OS updates. And as Ron said earlier, it only took, it probably was almost a minute for it to do the update. It did take a few seconds after I rebooted for everything to do all its thing in the background, and then it came up with the screen for me to sign in. I signed in and I was back online. So within just a couple of minutes, the update was done. And I did force it. If you don't force it, usually long as you turn your computer off and then turn it back on again and don't just put it to sleep all the time, usually it will do the updates as they are ready for your computer. And I noticed it saying the next one probably will be in January. The last one was about a month ago. So it can be anywhere from a month to every couple of months for their major updates from one number to another. But sometimes there's updates during the month with security fixes and changes. Any questions before I go to the next part, which is a little bit longer?
Huey, can I just make a comment on that?
Please do.
For many of you, your Chromebook has 2 copies of the operating system on it. There are 2 complete copies in every Chromebook. It is always the secondary copy that gets updated, and then it flips it from the secondary to the primary copy when you start your computer up. So you're never inconvenienced. It's not like Windows that right in the middle of a presentation, it wants to update. It always happens to the secondary copy. And when you turn your computer off and turn it back on again, it'll flip them. The problem is if you don't actually turn it off, right? And I'm bad for that because I just close the lid and it goes to sleep. I don't ever turn it off, you know, but with the Chromebook, if you don't turn it off, it won't update. So that's an important thing that's different than a PC.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to the
next one.
Got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just following you along on my Chromebook, and it won't update to the 86. It says you are up to date with the version 85. And
Give it time. Each brand is a little bit different when they're ready to have it ready for you. Once it's ready for you, you'll see that it'll come. It could be anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks. Ron?
Okay, it's just automatic though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me close this one.
One of the difficulties many people have when beginning to work with a Chromebook, or even those that are experienced with a Chromebook, don't always know or weren't taught or didn't discover how the file structure works and how to manage their files within a Chromebook. I am going to try to shed some light on that today. What we're going to do first is open up our Files program. So what we're going to do here is click here, and what we want is the Files. And so when I click on that, we now have our file manager that's built into a Chromebook. You'll notice a couple of things. On the left are all of the folders and drives and so on that are available to you on your Chromebook. On the right is whatever you're pointing to. You'll notice in between them, if you move your mouse between them, you'll see a double arrow. That double arrow allows you to make it larger or smaller. So if you're only seeing a small portion of your left-hand column, you might want to move it over so that you see everything that you want to see. So now we have recent audio, images, videos, and photos on our local machine, plus my files, which shows what's on my machine or on my Chromebook. Then it also shows me what's out on Google Drive. You'll notice there's a little arrow. We're going to go through some of these things, and we're going to move some files around so you can see how easy it is to do. And I'm also connected to my OneDrive, which is my Microsoft Cloud drive, so I can move files back and forth between Microsoft and between my Google and have access, so I can go to my PC and the files that I've been working on the Chromebook are available to me. I also have an SD slot in this particular Chromebook, and I have an SD card in there, and that's where I store, and you'll see there's an arrow there, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment as well. So I have some additional storage on an SD card within my Chromebook. And getting access to that and using that has gotten better with some of the later versions of the Chrome OS or operating system. So let's take a look at where our files are on our computer. So we're on my files right now, and this is showing what's on the drive that I have. In other words, in memory, on the storage section of my memory on my Chromebook. There's a folder called Downloads. We're going to take a look at that in just a minute. And there's also a playlist. And then there's some individual files that somehow got just in the general category. Most of the time when you either do a screen capture or that you download something, or you're going to say open up a PDF file, it downloads it first and then opens it. It's going to put it in that downloads folder by default. So let's take a look at the downloads folder that I have. I double click it, it opens it up. Or I could have, I'm going to come back here, I could come here to downloads and double click there, and it will open up on this side. Now, like most computers, whether it be a PC, a Mac, or any other device, and a lot of applications too, you have headings at the top, along the top here, date, modified, type, size, and name. You'll see an arrow here. That means it's alphabetical going up. If you click that one time, it makes it alphabetical going down. If you want to do it by size, you click there and you'll see it by size. The largest at the top, the smallest at the bottom, and you can reverse that as well. Same thing with type. It will put all those types of files together. You'll have an APK file, you'll have GIF files put together, JPEGs put together, and so on. And if you want to check it, okay, what's the last file that I did? Well, today at 11:06, I worked on this file, and 10:31 I worked on this file, so on. So I have it in order of that. But what I want to do it is, let's do it by name, and we're doing it up. We're doing it from the A's on down. So these are all of the files that are in my downloads. Now you have to remember, this downloads folder is local on your Chromebook. So if you power wash your Chromebook, these all disappear. This is the only thing that goes away, what's on your local drive. So periodically, you want to copy these over to your cloud storage, which is your Google Drive, usually, or you could copy them over to your OneDrive, or you could put them on the SD card. If you power wash, the SD card does not get wiped. So you need to back these up if you want to keep these. If you don't care, then you can just leave them in there until it starts filling up, and then you want to kind of make some room, depending on how much storage you have. On my particular Chromebook, I have 128 gigabytes of storage, so I don't use it all, and I have room to keep quite a few of these smaller files. You'll see that they're not very big. A lot of them are screen captures and so on. But sometimes I download a video to watch, and when I do that, it's a large file, so I may delete it. or I may move it somewhere. So let's say we want to take all of these JPEG, which are screenshots right here at the top, and we want to put them over on our Google Drive. How do we do that? Well, first we need to go take a look at our Google Drive. We'll come over here and you'll see when I click the little arrow, it now shows me what's on the Google Drive. There's My Drive, Shared with Me, and Offline. Let's look at My Drive. There's a little arrow there. When I click that, it shows me all of the folders that are on my Google Drive. Let's say we want to have one called Screenshots, and there's not one there. There's one called Old Screenshots, because that's what I was practicing with, and I renamed it. But I won't tell you that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to My Drive. We'll click here. So now here on the right now is everything that's in My Drive. Now we're going to come over here to the three dots, which is More. We'll click on it. Notice the top one says New Window. Now we want to go to a new folder. We're going to create a new folder by clicking here. And now we have a new folder down here. Let's call this Screenshots. I just click outside of the box, and we now have a folder called Screenshots on my drive, which is the Google Drive. Now let's come back over to Downloads. Now it's changed over here on the right, so we see what's in the Downloads folder. We'll go to the top. We're going to take this file, and we want to come down to this file. Now I could click each one of these, but you'll notice that it only highlights the one that I'm on. Now, if I hold the Control key down and then go to the next one, it now has checked 2 of them. If I come down to the next one, check 3 of them. But there's even an easier way. And this is true on a PC as well. And I don't know Macs, but I would imagine there's something similar. But if I click the first one, I'm going to move my mouse down to the last one, but I haven't clicked on anything. I hold the Shift key down and click there. It automatically will highlight from the beginning one to the end one and everything in between. So if you've got a long list of files you want to copy or move, you don't want to go to each one individually, you can do a complete list by holding the Shift key down. So we now have 5 files that we want to get over to our Google Drive so we don't lose them. We'll want to store them out on Google Drive, out on the cloud. So we're going to come down over on this side, and notice as I move it, nothing is changing on the right. We're not clicking on the left, we're just scrolling until we find the Screenshots folder, which is down here. I'm not going to click it. I'm just going to put it where it's close enough that when I drag from this side to this side, when I drag it over, I'm not going to lose it, and I'm not going to have to go searching for it. So I am going to click and hold my click. Notice it as I'm holding the click on the mouse, and if I was had my finger on it, I wouldn't take my finger off if I was going to do it on the touch screen. And I'm just going to bring it over, and I'm going to put it over here where it says Screenshots and drop it and let go. When I do it, it opens up Screenshots, and there they all are in the Screenshots folder. Now, what happened back up on our Downloads folder? They're still there. Because it's a different drive, it doesn't move them. By default, it copies them. Now, let's say we want to take one of these, and let's see, we've got some play files here. And just to practice, let's take one of these pictures, and we'll see that it's this one. And we're going to take it, and we're going to bring it down to Pictures and drop it. It's there. If we come back up to Downloads, it's still there. So it doesn't move them, it only copies them. And so what you're going to want to do then is if you either right mouse click or you can just highlight it, is we would then delete it from here. Are you sure you want to delete it? You click delete and it would be gone. So you can clear off the Downloads folder one by one, or again, you could click the first one, hold the shift key down, click this one, they're all highlighted, and then we can come up and then go here, and then, so you could actually start at the first one, go all the way down to the bottom, hold the shift key down, click it, and then everything in your downloads folder, and then tell it delete it, and they'll all be gone. But you don't want to do that until you've saved them out or decided which ones you want to save, which ones you want to delete. Now, let's take a look at some of these others. Let's look at documents. There are some documents there. Now, what determines how they get in these, I have not really paid much attention to. And if I look at pictures, remember we just moved one there, and then under that I even have a folder called Hangouts. I'm not going to go there. I'm not sure what's in there. But you can look at different play files. Then again, at the top, you've got recent, so you can see all of your recent files here, but they may be in different places. They don't necessarily mean that they're where you want them to be, or where, if you want to move them. Now, can you move them? Well, let's take a look and see if we can. We'll take this one, and we'll say, okay, we want to put it in pictures. So we're going to take, actually, not, when I say move, I mean copy them. We're going to copy it down here to pictures. And it's the one ending in 205. So if we look at pictures, there's the 205. We come up to recent, and it's still there. So so even if it's in recent, you aren't quite sure where it is, you can put it where you want it to be. And then you have images. It will find all of the images that you've taken. It'll show you all the videos that are on your local machine, and it'll show you all the photos that are on your machine, on your local machine. I hope I've shown you where you can find your files, whether they're on your local machine, your local computer, or whether they're out on the cloud, or again, as I mentioned earlier, I have an SD card. I can come down and look to see what's on my SD card, and I have some things here, and so if I go to here, I will see some information. So I can create folders and store some things out on my SD card. I could take that SD card out of my Chromebook, put it in my SD reader on my PC, and read the same files. Can't run any programs from the SD card, but you can store data there. So again, most of what you do will end up in your downloads folder on your Chromebook, and that's a temporary hold until you wipe your machine. If you do a power wash, anything that's in the downloads folder or in the play files will be erased. So you want to copy them over to your Google Drive if you want to keep them.
Thanks, Hewie.
Okay.
We had a couple of questions in the
Okay.
chat. Joanne, the first question was asked, why the name play files?
That's what they named them.
That's what they named.
That part I'm not quite sure, and I've not researched it. So I just look to see where things are, and if there's something in there that I need to move or copy, I should say copy to my Google Drive, I do. And
I think
and
it's because of the consistency with Play Store, Play Music, Play Games. They're using the
Same file.
term play in front of a number of different products they have.
Could
okay,
be.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. How do you?
Bob G's got his hand up.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah, I have a question. When you moved or copied to a different folder, have you tried doing a right click what you're moving over? Do you get a selection of move or copy?
I've not tried it.
because in Windows, if you do a right click, you get an option to either move or copy. And I'm just wondering, I think that might be the same in Chrome. I'm not 100% positive. And I'm not on my Chromebook right now, so I
Right.
can't tell.
Let's research, Bob. Let's research that out, and we'll get back to on the next on our next one. We'll follow up with that. Good suggestion. The other one was asked, Huey, was how do you add OneDrive?
OneDrive.
Yeah, Microsoft
Uh,
OneDrive. You had that on your Chromebook.
yes, and I don't recall how I did that. Once you do it, it's done, and I've had the Chromebook now a couple of years, so I'd have to
I think it's
figure
just
that
the
out again.
OneDrive. I think I have it on mine, and again, I did it a long time ago. I think it's just the OneDrive app you put on your
Yeah,
Chromebook.
I think that's it. And then you tell it what your account is. You sign into your account, and it
Yeah.
knows it. Now, the
It's-
other thing is that I do want to mention, especially there was a couple of people that are just buying new Chromebooks. You get 15 gigabytes of storage on your Google Drive. Usually, when you buy a new Chromebook, you can get an extra 100 gigabytes of storage, or you get 100 gigabytes of storage for a year for free. The first time I did it was 2 years. Now I think it's a year. And there is a location you go to at Google. I think it's either a Google website or a Chromebook website /options, and I'll have to research where that is. And you usually tell them you just got one, you just got a Chromebook, and they'll give you that free update. Otherwise, it's $25 a year for 100 gigabytes. I have 100 gigabytes for the 2 years I've owned, or 2.5 years now that I've owned Chromebooks, and I still have only about 35 gigabytes stored out on it. So I don't have a lot, and I do have a Microsoft Office 365 account. So my OneDrive is a terabyte. So I've got a lot of storage out there, and I really haven't had to use it, but I do use it occasionally. And with either Google Drive or OneDrive, I can get on my PC and go out and access anything I store out there, as long as I send it to my account.
Right. And the other thing that you mentioned, which is important for everyone to know, when you have a PC, you sort of are wondering, how big a hard drive should I get? Will my hard drive fill up, and so on and so forth. With a Chromebook, the concept of a Chromebook is the stuff you're doing is stored in the cloud. So you really don't have to be concerned about your hard drive storage. Plus, all Chromebooks have the ability to put an SD card in, as Huey did, right? And you can get SD cards now that are 1 gigabyte SD cards. So really, it is a non-issue on how much physical storage you need on your Chromebook. Now, the other one was, Mary asked if files can exist on both devices, and the answer is certainly yes. But how this works is that if you don't have your Chromebook connected to the internet, and you create a file, you create a document in Google Docs, you don't have to be connected to the internet, but you want to write a letter, and you open Google Docs, which is an app on your Chromebook. It comes pre-installed. You don't have to do anything. And you create this letter in Google Docs, right? Well, that's fine. That stores locally on your computer, on your Chromebook. But as soon as your computer connects to the internet, it will take that file and move it up into Google Drive. So it now resides in Google Drive, which will be is in the cloud. So it's nice because you can use your Chromebook offline. You can do all the things you want to do, and then it will automatically put it up into the cloud. Compatibility of files with Google Docs. Yes. Next, I have a video on using Office 365 on a Chromebook. And that's certainly easy to do. We're going to play that. I was going to play it this week, but we just don't have time. But we will play that next month. Office 365 is easy. It's an app. You simply go to the Play Store. You download onto your Chromebook Office 365, and you've got Office 365 for free. You don't have to pay a cent. Everything with a Chromebook is free and free. So that's great. So you can use Office 365 on a Chromebook. Hewie, anything in high resolution in anything in high resolution in Google Photos does not count against the drive memory. Anything in
If if you maintain a Google Photos and don't have it in the original resolution, but
right.
choose the high definition that they let you do for free, that does not count for your storage. No, that's
Right.
your Google Photos is unlimited, and that's somewhere else.
Marietta says, I have OneDrive for years and I pay $2.12 per month. Can I store documents in there instead of Google Drive with the limit? Yes, absolutely. All that you have to do is install the Office 365 app. You'll be connected to your OneDrive and you can store all your stuff in OneDrive. Now, in the video I'm going to show you next month is you can do that and that's fine, but it just works a bit better if you use the Google. I mean, if you really want to use the Office 365 programs and that's fine, but it just is a little bit slicker with the Google stuff because it's a Chromebook, right? And the last one, can files exist in the same time on both the device and the cloud? Yes, of course they can. In fact, one of the options in the settings is, do you want to have the files available on both devices? Now, in most cases, I'd suggest you don't do that. You really don't want to copy your Google Drive, all those files in Google Drive, down onto your Chromebook. Google Drive can get pretty darn big, and you don't want to be moving all those files down onto your Chromebook. You can certainly choose specific ones that you want to keep in both places, but you really don't want to take your whole Chrome, all your Google Drive and put it on your Chromebook.
Yeah, usually we've been accustomed when we're on Windows or probably on a Mac as well. You want to have the files locally and then store them out on the cloud. With a Chromebook, you're doing it just the opposite. You're using the cloud to keep them, and then just to store them and have them occasionally. Local is good, but you don't need them there.
Right.
Well, you know what? We've used up an hour.
Really? You're kidding. I'm having so much fun. Let's go for 3 more hours.
Well, I'm getting hungry. And I'm always hungry, but I'm getting there again.
All right.
I hope those of you who we didn't scare you away from a Chromebook that aren't on. It is relatively easy, and if you're not using the file management like I showed you, I hope that at least got you started where you're not going to be afraid of it.
Are we coming next month, Hewie?
I'm planning on it. I'm already thinking in my mind with some of the things that we need to cover.
All right. That's great. So we'll be back. So I'll be back. I'm having fun with this. So I'll be back next month.
Don't forget shortcuts.
Yeah, we'll do that too. If anyone has any suggestions on what they want covered, we'll be sending the link to this video out to everybody. We'll put our email addresses in there, and please get a hold of us. Most of you probably on Tech for Senior as well. So just get a hold of us. Let us know what you want covered. And certainly if anyone has any problems with your Chromebook or they want to do some more work with it, get a hold of Hewie and I. We're really passionate about Chromebooks, so we'll help you. Right, Hewie?
Absolutely. And I'm glad everybody joined. We didn't lose, but just a couple of people.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, Marietta.
Go
I
ahead.
just set up my Chromebook here last weekend, and I have 2 Google accounts. So I first put in the first Google account. It wouldn't accept it. So then I put the second Google account in. It wouldn't accept that one either. So I created a third Google account, and then it let me in. And so everything referenced that third account that I don't want. And then I had trouble getting my Gmail, and it was just all messed up.
It is. It is.
And
So
what I ended up doing is I did a power wash of everything and got rid of that account. I made sure that the one Google account I wanted to keep was working right. And then I power washed it and got rid of it. I never used that third account.
right.
And now can I delete that totally?
So yeah, so you did the right thing. You did the right thing. The question would be is why did it not allow you to log in with the first account? And the answer to that has to be it's the wrong password.
Really?
So
Okay.
it's the wrong password. There should be no reason whatsoever that you should not be able to log in with the account that you want,
Okay.
and it's the wrong password. You need to either reset the password or do a recovery password.
I
You
did that. Yeah, I
Yes,
reset the password in my first account
right.
before I did the power wash.
Yeah.
And then
So
I got in.
yeah, you did. Hey, you did the right thing. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, that's exactly the right approach to take. And for sure, I mean, and there is no problem if you want to log. If you have a Chromebook, one of the beauties of the Chromebook is if you have a Google account, then you can log in and it'll make an account for you. But if your husband has a Google account and wants to use your computer, then it will ask for his information, and it'll put a second login on your screen, and the two are totally separate, totally secure. And there's even if you notice on your Chromebook, there will be something called guest, and so you can even have, so if you have someone who wants to use your computer, then they can just use the guest feature, and they can't even see any of your stuff. It's totally secure. Okay. But that's why I went and I talked earlier today about recovery of a password. And so you need to make sure that when you set your Google account up or you go into settings, please make sure that you have a recovery email address that you can use, and also it has your proper smartphone, your phone number, because it will send you a text message for the recovery, right? So you need to have that set up. Please do that, because we have had situations where we can't get your Google account back. You know, if you do not know the password and you have no recovery options, then you cannot get that account back. You can't phone Google and say, give me my account back. That it's gone. You know, it's a big problem. So please make sure, it's so important that you do that.
Bob G has a question, but before we go to him, I do want to say, Marietta, I want you to just to nod, or you can tell people how easy was it to go because you wanted to clear it. You did a power wash that took it back to factory fresh. It took seconds, right? You put in, you will log back in, and it set up your account immediately. It's just fantastic. If that was Windows, you would be struggling for weeks to try to get it back.
It was very easy once I had the right password, and I made sure that Google account was right before I did the power wash, and it was very easy, and everything's working fine now.
Right. And that's why I wanted to talk about your Google account today. That's why I wanted everybody to understand what your Google account is. Okay. Bob, you had a question?
Yeah, sometimes you get a message because it doesn't say that your password is incorrect. It just means something within the sign-in is incorrect. And we usually don't look to see, did we really type our Gmail account properly? Because I've had it happen. Nothing wrong with my password, but fat fingers do strange things on keyboards. Okay. It was my Gmail account that I didn't enter properly. And it almost drove me nuts until I realized, wait a minute, that's not right. My Gmail address is wrong. As soon as I corrected it, I was in.
Right.
And by the way, as a parting note, if you upgrade to the OS 86, you'll notice the sign-in screen now has a little eye next to the password. If you click on that eye, you can visualize, you can see what your password is. It's not just the dots or the stars. You can actually see what it is, so you can tell if you put it in wrong. And that's a new feature in the sign-in screen on Chrome OS 86. And with that note, Ron, unless we have something else, I think, oh,
I think Chris Wazinski has a question. Chris, Edith, Chris, go ahead.
I heard something that just scared me a little bit. Can you hear me? So sometimes I have bandwidth.
Yep.
Okay, what scared me was somebody said they power washed their machine, and if you went over this, I missed it. But if you power wash your machine, the only thing that's stored on your Chromebook is in the downloads folder. If you power wash your machine, the downloads folder is gone. So
Right.
before you power wash your machine, drag and drop your power wash folder. Excuse me, drag and drop the downloads folder to your SD card, and then power wash your machine, and then drag it back when your machine comes back on. Otherwise, everything in your downloads folder is gone.
That's right.
I mentioned that in the talking about the Google Drive and the SD card. Absolutely, yeah. When
Absolutely.
you power wash, what's in the downloads folder is gone.
Right. That's correct.
Jim Glass.
Yeah, I have my Google Drive synced to the Chromebook, so anything I put into it gets put into Google Drive automatically.
Correct. That's correct. And if you power wash, it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. It'll all be there when it comes back.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week or next month. Sorry, next month, right?
See you
Thanks
Monday.
for coming. All right. Huey, are we going to end it now or?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
See you next
Bye.
week. See you on Monday.
Yeah.
Or next week at Texas Senior.